The testing chamber smelled like recycled air and desperation. Typical. Commander Vex stood at the front of the room, all four arms crossed, mandibles clicking with what the recruits had learned to recognize as impatience. 300 aspiring security officers sat in neat rows, their datapads glowing, their faces locked in concentration. The final exam. The big one. The test that separated the competent from the catastrophically incompetent. You have 45 minutes, Vex announced, his voice echoing off the metal walls. Identify the threat scenario in the simulation. Justify your tactical response. Begin. 300 heads bent down in unison. Well, 299, to be precise. Because in row 3, seat 14, a human named Voss was leaning back in her chair, arms folded, staring at the ceiling as if she were counting ventilation panels for fun. Vex noticed. Of course he noticed. Humans were still a novelty in the Galactic Security Academy, and this one had been nothing but trouble since day one. Not the loud kind of trouble. The worst kind. The quiet, unsettling, I know something you don't kind of trouble. Cadet Voss, Vex said, his tone sharp enough to cut Durasteel. Is there a problem with your equipment? Kira didn't even look at him. Nope. Then perhaps you would like to explain why you are not completing the examination. She scratched her nose. Already done. A ripple of laughter moved through the room. Vex's mandibles twitched. Humans, and their humor, always at the worst possible moments. Cadet Voss, you have been staring at the ceiling for the past 90 seconds. The simulation has barely begun. Yeah, well. She finally tilted her head down to look at him, one eyebrow raised. The threat isn't in the simulation, Commander. It is the simulation. The room went silent. Vex felt all 6 of his eyes narrow. Explain. Kira sighed, like she was talking to a particularly slow child. You gave us a scenario. Abandoned space station. Strange energy readings. Missing crew. Classic setup. Everyone here is analyzing the data, trying to figure out if it's pirates, a reactor leak, or some kind of biological contamination, right? Nods rippled across the room. That was exactly what they were doing. But here's the thing, Kira continued, sitting up now, her voice casual, but her eyes razor-sharp. The scenario doesn't make sense. The energy signature is wrong. The timeline is wrong. The crew manifest doesn't match the station's capacity. And the distress beacon? It's broadcasting on a frequency that's been banned in this sector for 3 years because it interferes with navigation systems. Vex felt something cold settle in his thorax. Go on. This isn't a test of tactical analysis, Kira said, louder now so the whole room could hear. It's a test of critical thinking. You're trying to see who will blindly follow procedure and who will notice that the entire scenario is a trap. Someone is feeding us false data. The real threat is whoever sent this simulation in the first place. Dead silence. Then, one by one, heads lifted from datapads. Eyes widened. The brightest cadets were starting to see it. The inconsistencies, the deliberate errors planted in the data. Vex felt a flicker of something he rarely experienced. Respect? No. Annoyance, definitely. But also, maybe, just maybe, a tiny bit of respect. And how, he said slowly. Did you reach this conclusion in 90 seconds when it took our scenario design team 6 weeks to construct this test? Kira shrugged. I'm human. We're really good at noticing when someone's lying to us. Kind of had to be, back on Earth. Survival thing. Before Vex could respond, the lights in the chamber flickered, then died completely. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. And through the speakers came a voice. Calm. Cold. Unfamiliar. Attention, Academy personnel. This facility is now under our control. You have 30 minutes to surrender command codes, or we will vent atmosphere from all occupied sections. Do not attempt to contact external authorities. We have already disabled your communications array. Comply, and no one gets hurt. Panic exploded through the room like a ruptured fuel line. Cadets shouted. Chairs scraped. Someone near the back actually screamed. But Kira Voss just sat there, looking at Commander Vex with an expression that clearly said, see? Told you. Vex activated his wrist comm dead. Backup comm, also dead. He looked at the sealed chamber doors, then at the 300 terrified young officers who were supposed to be the future of galactic security. Then he looked at the human in row 3. Cadet Voss, he said quietly. I do not suppose you have any more insights you'd like to share? Kira stood, cracking her knuckles. Oh, Commander, I've got several. But first, we need to figure out whether this is another test, an actual hostile takeover, or some idiot intern who triggered the wrong drill protocol. And how do we determine that? She grinned. It wasn't a comforting expression. We do what humans do best, sir. We poke the bear and see if it bites back. Vex felt his mandibles click involuntarily. This was either going to be brilliant or catastrophic. Knowing humans, probably both. Kira walked to the front of the chamber like she owned it, boots echoing under the red emergency lighting. 300 pairs of eyes followed her, some confused, some terrified, a few actually paying attention. All right, listen up, she said, her voice cutting through the nervous chatter. If this is real, we're in serious trouble. If it's fake, we're still in serious trouble because we just failed the actual test. Either way, panicking is the dumbest possible option. A Thraxian cadet near the front raised a tentacle. But the voice said they disabled communications and will vent the atmosphere. Should we not evacuate? To where exactly? Kira shot back. The doors are sealed. And if you noticed, which apparently none of you did, the environmental systems are still running at full capacity. You can feel the air circulation, right? They said they'd vent the atmosphere, but they haven't touched life support. Commander Vex tilted his head. She was right. Temperature stable. Airflow unchanged. Inconsistency number 1. Kira continued, holding up a finger. Real hostiles would cripple life support first to create immediate pressure. This feels like theater. But our communications are down, a Kelzari cadet protested, his scales flickering anxious yellow. Are they? Kira pulled out her datapad, fingers flying across the screen. Commander, permission to attempt something potentially stupid? Vex hesitated for exactly half a second. Granted. Kira tapped a sequence, then spoke clearly into her pad. This is Cadet Kira Voss in Examination Chamber 7. If anyone can hear this, please respond with the current cafeteria menu. Silence. Then, crackling through the speaker, a confused voice replied. This is Security Station 12. Did you just ask for the cafeteria menu? Also, are you aware there's a Level 3 lockdown in progress? The room erupted in confused muttering. Kira grinned like a wolf spotting a wounded deer. Communications aren't down. They blocked military frequencies, but forgot about the civilian network. Which means whoever's behind this either doesn't know Academy protocols, or wants us to think we're more isolated than we are. Vex felt something shift in his assessment. This human wasn't just observant. She was dangerous. Inconsistency number 2. Kira said, raising another finger. They demanded command codes in 30 minutes. But command codes rotate every 8 hours with layered encryption. Any external hostile would know this. Any internal hostile would definitely know this. They're asking for something that'll be useless by tomorrow. A Vorgoth cadet, built like a walking bunker, raised his massive hand. So what is the objective? If this isn't a real attack, then what? Kira turned to Commander Vex. Sir, what was the real goal of today's exam? Vex clicked his mandibles slowly. To identify cadets who could think beyond their training. Those who question assumptions instead of following protocols blindly. And, Kira prompted, and to see who remains calm when those protocols fail. Kira spread her arms, addressing the room. There you go. The flawed simulation was Layer 1. The staged lockdown was Layer 2. They wanted to see who noticed the inconsistencies, and then who could still think when fear kicked in. That is an elaborate testing method, Vex said carefully. You're training people to protect billions of lives across multiple star systems, Kira replied. I hope your tests are elaborate. She started back toward her seat, then stopped. But here's what actually worries me. The room went quiet. What if I'm wrong? Kira said softly. What if this is real, and I just convinced 300 future security officers to stand around talking instead of acting? What if actual hostiles are planting charges or stealing data right now? Vex felt his respect rise another notch. Confidence paired with doubt. Rare and valuable. So what do you suggest, Cadet Voss? We assume it's real, Kira said evenly. We secure the room, establish verified communication with command, and prepare for hostile contact. If it's a test, great. If not, at least we're ready. Before Vex could answer, the chamber doors hissed open. Academy Director Marn stood in the doorway, 7 feet tall, calm, and very much not acting like someone under siege. Examination concluded, she announced. All cadets remained seated. Cadet Kira Voss, front and center. Now, oh no. Kira stepped forward, face carefully neutral, while 300 cadets held their breath. Director Marn studied her for a long moment. Then, astonishingly, her stern expression softened. Cadet Voss, you are the first student in 11 years to identify both layers of this examination within the time limit. You recognized the simulation flaws, correctly assessed the staged lockdown, and, most importantly, prevented panic by encouraging critical thought. Kira blinked. So, I passed. You didn't just pass, Marn said. You achieved the highest evaluation score in Academy history. Congratulations. Relief washed through the chamber. A few cadets even applauded. Kira looked stunned. Thanks. Marn turned to the room. Let this be a lesson. The greatest threats often hide in assumptions, false data, and our refusal to question authority. Cadet Voss succeeded not because she is smarter than you, though she is clearly above average. Wow. Harsh, Kira muttered. She succeeded, Marn continued, because humans evolved questioning everything. Paranoid, suspicious, skeptical. In security work, these are not flaws. They are survival traits. Vex watched the human cadet, deeply uncomfortable with the attention, and realized something unsettling. Humans were not just another species to be trained. They were the galaxy's built-in threat detection system, and one of the most dangerous of them was standing right here. Director Marn dismissed the cadets, then gestured for Kira to stay. One more thing, she said quietly. How did you think to check the civilian network? Kira shrugged. My grandmother used to say that people who want control focus on big dramatic moves and forget the boring stuff. Civilian networks are boring. Nobody guards boring. Marn nodded. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was a con artist arrested 6 times, Kira said cheerfully. But yeah, she had her moments. And with that, the human who broke the impossible test walked out, leaving behind confused cadets and 2 very thoughtful officers. Commander Vex exhaled slowly. We're going to have to redesign all our exams, aren't we? Marn sighed. Every single one. Somewhere down the corridor, Kira Voss was probably already figuring out how to break the next scenario. Humans, Vex thought. Tired, impressed, and mildly alarmed. Terrifying. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.